Today, I'll show you how to make beautiful embedded messages in your info and roles channels. Step number 1 is to create our integration. Head over to the channel you want to create the integration in. I'm over here in a channel called info, which is essentially for our rules and other information. Select the gear icon in the top left corner. This will lead you to the channel settings. Next, head over to the integrations tab. Integrations include bots, webhooks, and channels that you can follow in your Discord server or Discord channel. Where it says webhooks and 0 webhooks, you're going to want to create a new webhook. So press this blue button. Just like that, we've now created a new integration, and you'll notice that there's an avatar, name, and channel for this integration. We don't want to change any of these yet because we'll actually be able to customize this using step number 2. Press the copy webhook URL button to get this into your clipboard. Step number 2 is to set up our integration. In the description section of this video, I'll have a link to a website called Discohook. Discohook is an easy way to build and send Discord messages with embeds using webhooks. To get started with Discohook, first press the Clear All button in the top left corner. Press the Clear All Blurple button. Then, under the webhook URL field, paste in the webhook that we just created. On the right side of the screen, you'll see a live preview of what your webhook would look like. You'll now see it populate with the webhook name along with the avatar for the webhook. To finish up step 2, we're going to want to create a profile for our integration. Here, we can now specify the username. I'd recommend making this your server name and then information, or rules, depending on what you're creating the integration for. Next, we're going to want to get the avatar URL. I'd recommend making this your server icon. Now you could do this by simply having the image file for your server icon and pasting that there, or using a bot like Dino and using the server info command, or you can use the developer tools. In the developer tools, you can do this by pressing Ctrl-Shift-I, and then in the top right corner, you'll see this button that allows you to select an element. I'm going to select the icon for my server and then expand this div. Inside the div, we'll see an image. Copy the SRC, or the source for this image, and we now have a link directly to our server icon. Head back over to Discohook and paste this in the avatar URL section. Just like that, we're now done with step number 2. Step number 3 is to create the rules embed. For this, you're going to want to press Add Embed. We now have Embed 1 created, and on the right side, you'll see this little black thingy that's representing what the embed is, but so far it's empty. I'd recommend actually leaving all of the author fields blank, and other people might like to have these, but I prefer to leave these blank because we already have Cafe HQ information or your server name in the webhook name itself, so we don't need to be redundant on that. But what we can do is specify a description and a color. So let's start out with the description. For the description, I'm going to have the information for our server. So here it's just going to be welcome to the server and a sentence about what the server is. Then I'd recommend linking back to Discord's terms of service and community guidelines so that all members know that they're welcome if they follow those rules. Now, a pro tip to make this look really nice is to actually link within the description of the embed. Now, the secret to do this is to use markdown syntax and to actually use a square bracket in front of Discord's terms of service, like so, and a square bracket closing the text that we want to hyperlink, and then use 2 parentheses. Inside the parentheses, we can now include the URL to a site that we want to hyperlink to. I'm going to be hyperlinking to Discord's terms website. As you can see over here, we now have this hyperlinked, and if we click on it, it goes to the website. You can also repeat this for any other text. For instance, community guidelines, surround that by square brackets, then add parentheses, and link it to whatever website you would want. So here I'm going to link this to Discord's community guidelines page. To finish setting up the profile for our integration, we now select a color. I'm going to select a color that matches my server, so I'm going to select a light blue color that's sort of resembling Blurple, as you can see here, so it sort of matches with that. Now here's where it gets really cool. We can now create fields for our integration, which will have our rules residing in them. To do this, under the Fields section of the embed, press Add Field and expand this and open it up. As you can see here, we now have a field name, a field value, and inline. Make sure to check inline on all of the fields that we'll be using today. For field name, I'd recommend having your rule name. For instance, rule number 1, be nice, or rule number 1, no toxicity. I'm going to be copy pasting these rules from my existing server. I'm going to be copy pasting a couple rules from my existing server so that you guys get an idea of what to put here. So my rule number 1 is going to be respect, and we can actually use Discord's text formatting tricks to make this nicer. So I'm going to use a multi-line code block by using 3 backticks, and this allows us to create this nice little message here. Now this is where it gets up to you. I earlier said that you should be ticking inline, but that is quite frankly up to you. If we don't tick this, we'll see them laid out vertically, as you can see over here. But if we do have them inline, then you'll see that it becomes a horizontal motion and it will go throughout the width of the webhook or whatever it can handle. So as you can see here, this particular integration is using the inline checked. However, if you don't want it to be inline and you want it to be vertically laid out, you can just leave that box unchecked. So I'm going to be pasting in the information for rule number 2 here. Now we can use any images that we want to. Over here, I have a little nice banner for a welcome message. I'm going to copy this banner, and then in the images section of our webhook, I can just add an image URL. And as you can see here on our bottom of the integration, we now have a neat little welcome little banner there. You can also specify a thumbnail URL. So if you have a sort of square icon or some sort of square art, that'll look really nice in the thumbnail section of the webhook. Now before you're done, there's still some really important things that we have to do to spice this up. In the footer section of the integration, we can now add hyperlinks to parts of our server to make things more interactive and potentially increase the retention of our server. For this, we can use our footer. In our footer, I'm going to specify check out the roles channel next. Now this is optional, but you can also add another field at the bottom. Name this important links. Then in the field value, we can add hyperlinks to all of the important things in our server. For instance, if I have a mod guide for my moderators, I can specify this over here and then link this like that. And we can add as many other things as we want. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to add a link to the roles channel. So what you're going to want to do is in your roles channel, select a message that's there. If there's no message, you can just send one. And then in the 3 dots of this message, press copy message link. Then you can actually link the message directly so that when people try to get a role by clicking on this hyperlink, they get redirected to your roles channel. The last thing we just have to do is press the send button on the integration. And as you can see here in the info channel, we now have a really nice embed which we can use and delete our old message. Now we have part number 4, which is to add emojis and set up server reaction rules. To do this, I wouldn't delete your entire webhook. Next up is step number 4 to create our roles integration. To do this, I love to have direct links to the roles that we actually have in the server, as you can see over here, and also add reaction rules so that users can easily react on a message and get the roles that they want. So we're going to be setting up these embeds in this part of the video. To do this, I'd recommend first saving the existing webhook that we have, so you can always edit this in the future without having to recreate the whole thing over again. So you can just create a backup name and then overwrite this or save this. And as you can see here, we now have this saved as rules in our backups. Now under the username section, I'm going to change this to Cafe HQ roles. In the title, I'm going to add level role info. Now, as you can see, I've just pasted in some information about our roles. Every minute you talk in chat, you'll earn XP, blah, blah, blah. And then we have some roles and perks associated with those roles. But the question is, how can we actually link these roles and link these channels to make them look nice in our message? Well, you actually can't tag these directly. You'll have to use a special trick for this. So if we want to link a channel, what we can do is we can enable the Discord developer mode. To do this, head over to your user setting and under advanced, enable the developer mode right here. Now, take the channel that you want, for instance, our bots channel, and right click on that, and now we can copy the ID. To link a channel, all we have to do is use the @ symbol, then a hashtag or #, then paste in the ID of the channel we want, and then a > symbol. And as you can see over here in the preview, we've now linked a channel. So all you have to do is change the ID for these channels, but the syntax of having this less than or greater than sign and then a pound sign on both the beginning and end of the message always stays the same for linking these channels. So I'll leave this customization step up to you, but you might still want to know how you can link a role. Well, it's really simple. Head over to your server settings, and then under the roles tab, select the role that you want to link. Over here, let's say I want to link the developer role. So I'm just going to right click on that and press copy ID. Now we can actually ping that role or tag it inside of our embed. To do this, we use the less than symbol again, then we use an @ symbol, then we use an and symbol, and then we paste in our ID and close it off. And as you can see here, we now have the role tag. You can repeat this for whichever roles that you want to give perks to or whichever roles you want to explain. And this is a nice template in my Discord server for how it's done, where you can actually link these directly into channels, directly into roles to make it look really nice. And now I'm going to show you exactly what you've been waiting for, which is how to create reaction roles and actually embed custom emojis into your embed message. So to do this, I'm going to create a title for our one called reaction roles, or react for a role, or whatever you would wish, and put in this description, react below with the corresponding emojis to get the roles. Next, we're going to create a field, and under field 1, this is where the custom emoji occurs. So if you want a default emoji that's already on Discord, then you just have to include the tag for this. So over here, the tada will just be a colon, tada, and colon, and we can just paste this in here, and as you can see, it will show up. But what if we will actually want a custom emoji? Well, to get a custom emoji, it's also not that hard. Let's say we want to get this megaphone emoji. In front of the megaphone emoji, use a backslash, and as you can see over here, we'll now have the backslash, then a colon, and the name of our emoji. But that's not it. Now press enter. And as you can see over here, we now have the syntax for what we're going to be pasting for this custom emoji. Now you can use any emoji that you like, even animated emojis. So all you have to do is follow this simple trick in order to get the code for our emoji to link that into your message. And then now over here, we can have our word megaphone or announcements or whatever role we would want to give to users. Now you'll see that if I try to press the send message, it's gonna say that this field value is required, but we might wanna leave that blank. We could message a role inside of here, and that would look pretty nice, but if we wanted to leave it blank, I'll have a link down in the description below. And on this second link, simply press copy to paste it and paste it into the field value. And as you can see here, if we head back over to our channel, it will now show up. So we can create as many reaction roles that we would want here, and now turn these into actual reactions by using a bot like reaction roles. If you want to actually learn how to add those reactions into our nice looking embed here, I'll have a link down in the description below to my tutorial on how you can set up reaction roles in your Discord server using this message. Now you can use these embeds for rules, for info, for roles, whatever you'd like, and there's so many possibilities with this. This is just an example from my server, but over here I'm in Blue's community, and as you can see, they've got a ton of embed messages all over the place. So there's truly a bunch of different things you can do with these nice looking embedded info messages. Thanks for watching today's video. If you want more tips and tricks on Discord, then make sure to subscribe to my channel below and click on the next video on the screen, which will show you how to further integrate your integrations by setting up reaction roles. I'll see you guys in the next one.